Hello and welcome to the Tarkis Zone, and thank you for joining me, and welcome to New World. Another one of my videos here, and we're going to be talking about crafting today, and we're going to be talking about equipment crafting, and we're going to get into some details on that. Now, this video that I'm sharing with you, again, I got it off the internet. It is, I think, even pre-alpha. It is what they have, it is what Amazon has provided to us for information. The crafting system, I believe, is going to be working the way we're going to see it on the video. They might add some complexity in the future or add more tiers in the future. But right now, I believe the level cap on all professions is level 20. That was as of this video, so that might change in the future. So you can grind outfitting to level 20, and that's where it kind of caps out, and it allows you access to the ability to craft everything in that the bucket, or I would say that the armor or outfit section. We don't know. I mean, it looks like most of the things in the game are going to be needed to be crafting. So we don't know at this time if monsters will be dropping weapons and armor. Most games, yes, you see that, but I'm not sure with New World if that's what they chose to do. That you can actually bypass the crafting system altogether and just go get drops out of the world. I'm thinking probably not, because they've said many times in their dev posts that everything in the world that you're going to need to survive needs to be made by another player. So with that said, we're going to get into this. I'm basically going to go over the details. Again, it seems, for what I know about this, it looks, don't take this a bad way, but it looks kind of cookie cutter. And it doesn't look that complex. Now, there are many MMOs I've played in the day that had very complex crafting system, and I love them. And what it made, it made the game selective in who actually were hardcore crafters. So if the game has a very complex crafting system, then what happens is Joe Normal will craft, maybe up to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and then stop there. And because the crafting system gets so complex, so they just don't want to deal with it. So what happens is, in the world, your hardcore crafters stand out because they're now ready to, go right for that complexity and try to get the gear out to the high-end players. So, that's what's nice about a very complex crafting system. But on the other way, if it's a cookie cutter system, then everybody feels comfortable doing it. There's lots of crafters, and it's just putting the time in. And we're going to look at this. Again, everything we see here is pre-alpha, and so some things can change, but I'm pretty sure that this is what we're going to be dealing with in the game. So I'm going to start the video just like my other videos I've made in the past. I'm going to play the video, I'm going to pause the video, we're going to discuss. So here we go. Crafting. So the first thing we're going to see in this video is there's going to be someone here that they're going to be putting a camp down. And I want to point out here that the camp has a T1 next to it. So my thinking here is, as the game progresses, you can get a skill that allows you to put down a more complex camp. Because my thinking here is, why would they put a T1 next to it if it couldn't be evolved into a T2 or a T3? Because the game people could have just called it camp, right? So when you make your camp, and anyone in the game, anyone coming into the game, will have the ability by default to make one of these campsites. The campsite allows you to do some really basic crafting, but it also allows you to respawn here. So if this person went out into the world and a monster killed them, they would have an option to either fast travel to their house or fast travel to their camp. And most people would choose the camp because that's where they're out and about doing things. So I'm just going to hit the video, the play button here on the video, and we're going to pause it again here because this is the basic wilderness survival crafting section. And again, anyone in the game can do this. What they do is they put their campsite down, or I imagine if you go to town and go to one of the crafting stations, or maybe a campfire within a town or a city, you can get to this screen too. As you can see, you can make a hatchet, skinning knife, sickle, and pick. Those are your basic tools. Most MMOs have a way for players to get these tools. This MMO looks like you can just make them yourself. I imagine there might even be a vendor in the world that sells these basic things if you've got the money and you don't want to bother making them. So that's what usually happens is you go to a vendor, a trade vendor, and they sell you the basic tools you need to move on. Now, I believe even the basic tools are tiered. So I think if you make hatchets, the more hatchets you make, they go up in tier. So you can actually start leveling that. So there might be, I see as it says hatchet and skinning knife, and you see those dots underneath that. That leaves me to believe that if you make 100, or I'm using this as an example, make 100 hatchets, now you're at tier 2. And you now can make tier 2 hatchets. And those hatchets allow either for a faster gathering, or it might be it does more damage to the tree so that you can just get through it quicker. So that's my guess here. Again, at the bottom, you can make the weapons, the bows, the straight sword, and the mace, and the spear. And those are the basic equivalents, you know, they're really the basics. And again, you can make them here at this campsite. Below that, you're going to see ammunition. I imagine that's going to be arrows and musket balls or any other cannonballs or whatever is underneath there. It just doesn't show in the video right now. And then you go over to utilities, and then you've got recovering potion. You got a healing kind of book or something there, and then you've got your weapon coating. So it looks like you can coat your weapons to do additional damage. That's what that looks like. And then you've got apparel. And then what you've got here is you've got your trapper set. So it looks like in this game, the armor it's under outfitting, but the armor is kind of set driven. So as you can see, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items in that set. And it looks like you can make the items one at a time, obviously. And then you'll look like that trapper set picture. And I imagine if you have the whole set, you get some sort of set bonus. Because that's how MMOs usually work, is with set bonuses. So I'm just going to advance the video some more. And if we get to something that jumps out at me here, so yeah, here you go. If I would have just continued going. As you can see, yes, it looks like you can tier them up. The sickle, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. So it tells you what you need for resources to make it. It says one-handed gatherer gathers plants, and it shows you've got these 2 items you need to make that, and it tells that person not enough resources, so they can't make it. So there you go. That answers that question about tiering the equipment. Oh, let's back up there. I just want to back up right. Sorry if this is looking dirty, but I just want to back up here. So right here, look at this. It looks like the weapon, the two-handed weapon that we were talking about, which is down by the weapon tree. It shows you what you need to make it. And then it shows you the things that are locked. My guess is it says you need and this answers my question about the camp system too. Because it says right there, you need a camp tier, what's that, a 2 or 3, whatever that is. It says that's what you need to make that at that camp. It says that you need one other thing, maybe weapons, some skill in blacksmithing. I think that's what that says in that small print. So here you go. You can make these items if you meet the requirement and obviously have the items that you found out into the world. So there you go. I mean, this is really straightforward kind of stuff. I mean, it's not very complex. I think anybody in the world can manage to make these items. It's just putting a little bit of time in and gathering the resources. So let's hit the play button. Okay, I wanted to point this out. I had taken the video and kind of pulled this forward. This right now, as of this video, there might be more out there that they've added, or they might add more in the future. But these are your basic crafting categories. You've got blacksmith, outfitting, engineering, alchemy, and cooking. Do know that I imagine the cooking aspect of this game was pretty needed before the changes. Because before the changes, this was a survival game where you needed food and water. So imagine cooking coded in a way where that food and water requirement was fulfilled by the cooking category. Well, right now, I believe they removed that part of the game. So when it comes to cooking, we'll see a window later on here. When it comes to cooking, what's going to happen is, I imagine it's going to be like World of Warcraft, where you cook up a feast and you can feed 5 party members and they get like plus 20 stamina, something like that. So again, I just wanted to show you these are the categories. It's pretty self-explanatory. Let's pause the video here. We're in the outfitting crafting tab here, and you can see what I'm talking about, the outfits that you can make, and they're basically sets. Now what I don't know is, and I imagine you probably could do this, is if I decided that I wanted to make this hat from this outfit, and obviously that item has its own unique abilities or have its own unique stats, and I could pair it with the gloves from the Sage set. I imagine you probably can do that, but I think what you might do is sacrifice a set bonus by doing that. But in a lot of games, what I found is you only need really 3 key pieces of a set to get the bonuses that you want. There's been many games that I did that, where I put the chest and the pants on, and let's say the gloves, and I got a 3-piece set bonus. And then the 2 other items I put on were from a different set, which gave me a 2-set bonus from that set. I think Rend was a lot like that. But here you can see the basic. These are the things that you can make. When you click on these, if I were to click on this in game, it would go back to that previous window that we saw, where it would tell you what you needed. Do note that the wilderness set looks like that just can be made in the camp. Now, when you get to some of these complex sets, I'm imagining the requirements will probably be tier 3 blacksmith, or or tier 4 blacksmith, or whatever it needs. Or you might need 2 crafting stations, a tier 3 blacksmith for some of the parts, and maybe in a tier 1 leather survival thing. You don't know. I don't know. So it might not be just as easy as going to the blacksmith place and making the full set. You might need to make the buttons, or you might need to make leather straps, and then you make those on another crafting station, and then bring them back to the blacksmith station and finishes up the components. So basically or finish up the building with the components. So that's how it could go. I'm thinking that's probably how it's going. I imagine it's just not a one-stop shop, because if that was the case, you just tier up one crafting station and you'd be done with it. So I imagine it's good. The crafting stations within a city or a town, you're going to need to do a balancing act as you try to have your crafters make more of this equipment. All right, let's hit the play button here. Here's again the tools that we saw on the previous screen. All right, I wanted to talk about this here. It looks like you need to be at an outfitting station, but these are part of the outfitting things that you can make, and it looks like these are accessories, like obviously a ring. So these rings are available to make. It shows you what the requirements here at the bottom, and the rings obviously will do whatever their bonuses are. So I imagine if you were to click on this in the outfitting section and scroll over it, it would tell you what this ring gives you for stats and bonuses. All right, let's hit the play button. All right, again. Okay, so engineering. This looks really simple right now, and I imagine the game is going to get very complex moving forward. I think this is basically just the tip of the iceberg and what they're putting in the game right now. And what they've got here is they've got a few weapons. They've got the musket, they got the bows, and I imagine those bows, that section overlaps the blacksmith section too. And they got the siege hammer, and it looks like the siege hammer is used to break down walls or maybe break down gates. So you slot that into one of your, you get 3 weapon slots. You slot that into one of your weapon slots. You roll up to the siege. You might be using your sword and your shield. You get up to the wall. You hit the button. The siege hammer's in your hand. And then you start hitting the wall to try to knock the wall or gate down. I believe that's basically how simple that is. Now, some of the utilities in this crafting section is powder keg. So if you've seen some game footage on that, basically what that is it's a powder keg that you put down next to the wall, you light it up, and you run. And then it eventually goes boom, and it does damage to the wall. And then you've got the ammunition, the gunpowder. So it looks like you need to make gunpowder. So I imagine to make this powder keg, you'll need to make the gunpowder. So you might need to make 20 gunpowder for you to, and you might need maybe 3 or 4 planks of wood to make the actual barrel. And then you can make the powder keg. And that's how that works. But again, I think this is really what we're seeing here is the tip of the iceberg. I imagine in the future we might actually see like battering rams or even catapults in the section. That I imagine they'll add. That would make it so much fun, actually. Okay, let's hit the play button. Again, here is showing you the muskets that you can make, the requirements and the resources needed to make those muskets at the engineering tab. Here's those are the okay, so now we're going to alchemy. Now, what you're going to see here with the alchemy, it's pretty much going to be like what you see in most MMOs with alchemy, is you can make certain things that you can drink to help you with certain aspects of the game, like healing, maybe cold resistance, maybe fire resistance, maybe you know, who knows? I mean, I imagine if we were in the game right now and we're able to highlight over all these. Okay, here we go. We've got antidotes, some mana, some, again, it looks like that says warming, clotting. So I guess if you have a bleed effect. So that's what these are about. Then you've got the coatings that you can make, the lightning weapon coating, the frostbite coating, and the poison weapon coating. So these are just things that you can make under the alchemy tree. Alright, so we're back at the survival tab. Not enough resources. It looks like you just need 2 logs to make that. That's what it looks like. You can make the tier 1 wood straight sword for 2 logs. So that's what that is. So it looks like the basic crafting stuff is going to be really easy to get the materials for. This is the outfitting tab again. Alright, so here's some game footage of the person running around, the multiple campsites. These are what some are, just to back that up again, and I know this is probably somewhat annoying to people. So these are what some of the set, so if you put the set together, and this is what one of the sets look like. And I'm just going to hit the play button as it goes through what the sets look like. Alright. So we're back here at the apparel or the crafting. The person's running around. As you can see, when this person's running around, see how it says the E, it says bush? That's how you gather in this game. As you walk up to something, if it can be gathered, you just hit the E command and you gather it. Oh, there you go. As you can see, boom. And obviously there's some time. It says 3 wood from that. There's some time. Obviously you saw the meter go around. So it's not like you can just run by something, hit the E command, and it will go into your inventory. You actually have to stop long enough for that kind of timer to go around. Then you get the items. These are other trinkets that you can make in the game. And I believe this is under Outfitter too. And these trinkets are the rings. We saw those previously. But what we didn't see here with in the other previous thing were the amulets. And you can see the 3 different kinds of amulets that you can make. Again, this is all basic stuff. They might add so much more to these windows as the game develops. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so we're just walking around here through the game. with this window up. And going back to that, just really basic, like we've talked about this, really basic stuff. This window showing you the gunpowder, the powder keg, under the engineering tab. There you go. See right there, I'm just paused the videos. Those are where those barrels of gunpowder we were talking about, that's when they go off. That's what they look like. Here again, we've got the alchemy station where you can make the potions and coat the weapons, and if you need an antidote or if you need healing. Now I want to talk about, this is why I put this in here, gauntlets. I believe under alchemy you make the magical gauntlets. I know that kind of sounds strange, but that was the research that I found, was there's these sets of gauntlets that you can make that act as magic absorbers so that you can cast magic. So in the game, my knowledge, based on what I've looked at the internet, there are 2 items in the game that can actually allow you to wield magic. Those are gauntlets and staves. And the gauntlets do their own specific magic, and the staves do. They might overlap a little bit for what magic that they do, but that is how magic is done in the game. So what would happen would be, is my imagine is, these gauntlets, these alchemy gauntlets, act like a weapon in the game. So your other gauntlets, if you went back to Outfitter and put the set gauntlets on, those would act as an armor value as part of your set bonus. Whereas the alchemy gauntlets don't act like armor, they act like a weapon, and it has its own weapon skill tree around those. That's how I understand it. So for example, you make these gauntlets through the alchemy tab, put the gauntlets on, and now you can heal party members. Because I think what that does is it takes up one of your 3 slots. So for example, if I'm running my shield and I'm running my sword and I'm doing my thing, I hit the button, my weapon swap button, and now I got the gauntlets in my hand, and I can throw out some heals, and then hit the button again, and I got my weapons in my hand again. I think that's how it's going to work. Again, that's a little speculation, but it kind of makes sense to me based on the game footage that I've seen before. So I just wanted to point that out. So gauntlets. Now this is what I was saying about the cooking. It used to be a survival game, so you needed food and water. So I imagine cooking was very important as a skill or a crafting ability. Now what we're seeing here is it's kind of like other games where you can cook grain, cook meat, cook fruit, and I imagine depending on what you consume, you get bonuses based on that. Maybe stamina, maybe health regen. I imagine they can get really... I imagine the game people can make this very complex moving forward. Whereas at end game, you would be able to make a whole feast, and that would give everybody 20 stamina, 20 haste, 20 attack power. You know, that's how ridiculous it could become. I don't know if I mentioned it early in this video, but I want to point out that as of this video, the level cap was 20. So basically when you went to do any of these crafting abilities and your crafting skills went up and you learned how to get into the next tier, and it capped out at 20. So it was 1 through 20. So basically as a crafter, if you went through outfitting and grind and made all sorts of outfits, your crafting level would cap at 20. Now again, that was as of this, when this video released. That could change. It could make it, you know, as they add more things to the game, obviously you're going to need to have access to higher levels. So that's adjustable, I imagine. All right, we'll hit the play button. The video's almost over. I appreciate you watching these videos. I'm trying to put out as much information as I can to help people understand the game. So here we are. We're at one of those forts where people are battling. You can see these guys are using two-handed weapons. And they're kind of just doing their thing. Now, over there in the back there, you'll see that white ring. I know that to be a buff utility. One of his comrades put that on the ground. That is a magical spell in the game. They put it down, and anybody of your faction who walks into that circle will get an enhancement buff. So here he's just running around. So those crates of, I'm going to call them crates of dynamite. So the X's on them. So they've got one that's lit. So it looks like you only need to light one at a time, because the other ones just in proximity are going to go off. And this is them trying to destroy the keep so that they can undermine it and take it. So that just blew up, and here they are. They're attacking it. And if I gonna, I know this is annoying, but I'm gonna back up here just so that we can see what I'm seeing. See, it looks like it's a tier 5 building, and this is what its health is. So basically, all those dynamite barrels that blew up only took this much health. So this is a good thing, because you don't want somebody just to zerg you. You don't want some company to come in and just throw a few things down and destroy your fort, all your good work. You want them to have to take their time into doing that. So even at this point, even though it looks like they're owning the place, there could still be a group of guys out there that are outside the castle fort and are going to run in and help protect this thing. It looks like it, so if you've got all those barrels that blew up and it only did that much damage, it's going to take some time to take a fort down. And it looks like they're putting more barrels down. See, the guy's throwing more of the barrels down. And look, ignite or pick up. Ignite or pick up. That's your option. And then look at it. Yep, look at that. And they got some guy that's dead on the ground right there. Probably too close to the barrels when they blew up. There's some items that you can pick up. See that little glowy thing right there? So that's really it. I mean, I'm hoping the video helps you. I mean, I'm hoping I didn't make it too complex. I like just going through the videos and kind of cherry picking the conversation and on what I'm seeing, and I'm hoping that it helps you out moving forward. The game is not out. It's not out in beta yet. It's going to be out soon. I'm hoping that when you see my videos, you can hit the ground running. Well, thank you for joining me. This has been the Tarkis Zone.